Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Rory and today I want to talk to you about the gear I use and the process I use to film real estate. Now if you're a subscriber to the channel, you'll know a little while ago I actually did a film on how I shoot real estate photography using the Panasonic Lumix S5, and a lot of questions I've had since then is how I shoot video doing it. Now for a bit of background, I'm a professional filmmaker. I shoot weddings, real estate, corporate and events. And real estate probably makes up about 30–40% of my annual revenue. So it's a big part of my business. And the video side of it is actually the part that's more important and I actually earn more money from than the photography side of it. So yeah, let's go through, we'll break it down a bit. Well, first of all, I'll go through all the gear that I use and the settings. And then I'll go through some techniques and stuff that I use. I won't go too much into editing because that's obviously personal preference, but yeah, I'll have a bit of a run through everything and hopefully you guys can take something away from this, find it useful and apply it to your own business, or if you're just starting out, apply it to that as well. So yeah, let's jump straight in. Let's go through the gear. Now, the camera that I use to shoot all my weddings and real estate and events is the Panasonic Lumix S5. I've got a couple of these. One of them I'm shooting on right now. This is another one that I use. So yeah, it's a great one for video, photo, everything. So yeah, it's a really good workhorse and I really love this camera. The lens that I use for 90% of real estate video is actually this Samyang 14mm. It's actually an EF mount. I've got the Sigma EF to L mount adapter on there. But yeah, it's a really good lens. It goes right down to 2.8. It has a little bit of a fisheye effect that I do need to correct in post, but yeah, for the cost, it's actually a great little lens. So yeah, we'll put the lens on the camera. We'll build out the kit as I go, just to show you what I've got here. So yeah, lens and camera together. The next lens that I use for more detail shots is, I've got this Sigma 35mm 1.4. I actually want to replace this with the Lumix 35mm 1.8 just for autofocus ability. But yeah, for detail shots in real estate, which is very important to include, I find, yeah, this is actually a great lens to get that nice shallow depth of field. If you want to push in a little bit more, you can use something like 24–70, which I'm filming on now, which also will give a really, really nice effect for those detail shots within real estate. Cool, so next bit of equipment that I use is actually the Rode Wireless Go 2s. I've got a couple of sets of these. One of them I'm actually using right now to record this video. The other one's here. Basically, if you're shooting real estate video, I would encourage you to do like an agent to camera piece where the agent can actually speak to the camera. It helps build the rapport with the potential customers, because ultimately the reason we're doing this is to help the agent sell houses. And if the agent can build a little bit of rapport with the customer before they've even had a chance to speak to them on the phone, then that helps them sell more houses quickly. So yeah, definitely recommend, if you're not doing it already, to start shooting agent to camera pieces. It doesn't need to be very long, just a little bit at the start to introduce the house and a little bit at the end to say how to contact them. That's all you need to put in the film. The next bit of equipment I use is a drone. I use the DJI Air 2S. I've used a lot of different DJI drones in the past, but I find that this one, bang for buck wise, it's incredible. So the ability to shoot 10-bit in D-Log is amazing with this. You can shoot right up to 5.4K. I find myself shooting at 4K quite a lot, because what I do, just to make it quicker and easier, and real estate is all about quick turnaround, is I shoot in 4K, I actually highlight the house so that the drone tracks it, and then I can just fly around all over the place and I don't have to worry about trying to keep the house in the middle of the frame. The drone will do that, and then I can just fly around and do what I want to do beyond that. So yeah, really good drone, really high quality image that comes out of this. The Mavic 3 looks amazing, but I don't think that it's needed for the kind of work that I do, especially for the small amount that drones actually end up in the films that I do. I can't justify spending like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a drone. This does the job perfectly fine, and this will stay in my kit for a very, very long time. And finally, a gimbal. Now, it doesn't really matter which gimbal you use. All of the manufacturers create really good gimbals. I've got the DJI Ronin RS2. The reason I have this gimbal is I did have a crane gimbal and it wasn't handling the payload that I threw on it anymore. So this was the one that happened to be in the store at the time. So I needed it straight away and this was the one they had. So if it was the crane that I had, I would have bought that. But I can't fault this gimbal, it's amazing. It works really well for all of the weddings, real estate, corporate stuff that I do. So yeah, really, really happy with this. So yeah, that's all the equipment that I use to film my real estate videos. So with that, I'll jump in and I'll show you, basically, I won't show you how to fly a drone, you know how to do that if you've got a drone. If you don't, then it just takes practice. But yeah, with the actual technique on how to film and the settings I use in camera, let's jump into that now. So yeah, here we go, the camera's set up on the gimbal, everything's balanced, the camera's turned on. So first of all, let's go through the camera settings that I use, and then I'll jump into the gimbal settings, and then I'll go through a few moves that I use in these films. So the camera settings that I use is, I actually have in the camera, I have C3 set to be full HD, 1080p. I don't shoot these real estate films in 4K. And the reason for that is, firstly, I don't want to have the crop. So in 1080p, you get the full frame of the sensor, and especially using a 14mm lens. If I was to crop that and I was shooting at 24mm, it'll be too tight for some real estate places. So yeah, I shoot 1080p, so I'll get the full frame. And I also find that full HD is more than adequate. Most people are viewing real estate films on their mobile devices. They're not viewing them on their big widescreen TVs. So 1080p on a mobile device, 4K on a mobile device, most people are not going to be able to tell the difference. So I shoot 1080p, I shoot Vlog, so that I get the most dynamic range out of the camera, and so that I get the most color flexibility out of the camera. And I set this to be ISO 4000. Now the reason I do that, if I'm outside, obviously I'll drop it back down to 640 and I'll adjust using the aperture ring. But yeah, ISO 4000 inside is the second base ISO, I guess you could call. It's the ISO that provides the least amount of noise. So yeah, setting it to ISO 4000 means that when I'm indoors, I don't need to worry too much about the light. I can basically just adjust my light using the aperture ring. Obviously set focus to infinity because you want everything in the room to be in focus, and you want your aperture to be as high as possible. So if you can, I try to shoot between f8 and f11. If there's not enough light in the room, then obviously I have to drop that down. If you're like in a basement or something and you're going to have to drop that down to f2.8, there's nothing you can do about that. On such a wide angle lens, it's not going to make a huge difference because most things are still going to be in focus, even at f2.8. But the things that are really close to you might be a bit out of focus if that's the case. The next thing that I always do is every room that I go into, I always set the white balance. So when you're going to a real estate house, all of the lights are going to be different colors because, as you know, when a light blows in your house, you're just going to go out and you're going to find whatever is the one that's at the supermarket. Sorry if there's a bit of noise. My neighbours just suddenly decided that they're going to mow the lawn. So if a little bit of mowing noise comes through, that's why. So yeah, basically set the white balance for every room that you're in. It'll save you a lot of time later on in post. There have been times where I've forgotten to do this and I get into the editing room and basically an entire room is yellow or blue, and it is fixable, but it just adds more time to your workflow, and it's just something you don't want to have to do if you can avoid it. One thing I would recommend you do is whatever wide angle lens you get, make sure that what is infinity focus on the lens is actually correct. And if it's not correct, put a mark on where infinity focus actually is, because it saves you a lot of time. I know that I can just look at this, set infinity focus, and I know that it's good to go without having to worry about looking at the screen or anything, because I know my lens and I know what it does. So yeah, now let's talk about let's talk about the settings on the gimbal first. I basically have two custom modes set up. I've got mode 1 and mode 2. Mode 1 is just pan, follow. So if I go up and down, the camera's not going to do anything, but side to side, it's going to pan and follow. And I have that set to quite a low follow speed. So I've only got it set to 11 because with real estate, obviously you want the movements to be nice and slow. So if I turn that really quickly, it's only going to turn slowly. Mode 2, I've got set to pan, tilt and follow. Same deal, I've only got the speed set to 11 on each of those axes So if you're in a bigger house and you want to start looking at the roof and then you want to pan down as you're moving in, then you can do that with this mode. As a general rule, I'll only use this mode on really big houses, or if I'm outside and I want to shoot the trees or something up in the sky. So yeah, other than that, mostly I'm on mode 1, which is just pan follow. So yeah, now let's talk about the moves that I use in the film. Now there's really only 3, maybe 4 moves that I use in a real estate film. They are obviously a push. So as you're walking into a room, you're walking forwards and you're pushing. So you walk, and it's a good idea to have a bit of foreground in the shot when you're doing this. So you may be going through a doorway as you're pushing through and revealing the room. The next one is a pan. So often what I'll do is I'll do a push into the room, and then I'll go and stand in one corner and I'll literally just pan the room. So I'll just go from one side to the other, just revealing the entire room. This is good if there's big rooms and there's like a walk-in robe or a bathroom or something that you want to show off. But yeah, you can combine these two as well. If it's a really big room, you can basically walk in and pan as you go through. And this will allow you to reveal more of the room as they're actually entering it. But yeah, the next one is like a parallax shot, which is where you're kind of walking around and you're like walking around something. So that might be a dining room or like a fountain outside or something like that. Basically walking around showing this thing off. Now it's important when you do this that you don't walk side to side. So turn your body so that you can see the screen, and then walk forwards and tilt the camera like this. So if you're walking side to side, sorry, getting a bit out of breath. I actually had COVID a couple of weeks ago, and now even the smallest amount of thing and I'm totally out of breath. So whew. Basically, you want to make sure that you're walking forwards, because that way you get the most stable movement. If you're walking sideways like this, then actually the movement is actually a little bit more jerky, especially as you go to take the next step, because you're just not as stable doing it that way. And then the final thing, the final move that I use is in mode 2, and it's like a tilt down shot. So if you're in a big room and you want to show off like a chandelier or something, you can start by tilting it up, and you can move forwards and tilt it down as you come into the room. You can use a combination of these shots, so you can like move through the doorway, reveal the room, like starting with a chandelier, moving down, revealing the room as you go through. So yeah, that's basically how I use these together to create real estate films. So yeah, then the detail shots. So with the detail shots, what I'll do is I'll switch out the lens for something a little bit more, a little bit tighter, with a little bit shallower depth of field, whether it's the 35, 85, 24 to 70, whatever I happen to be using at the time, depending on the size of a house and what I'm showing off. Yeah, with these ones, normally all I'll do is like a sliding shot. So I'll start with like a doorway or something in the way of the camera, and like say there's like a nice couch or a fireplace or a bed, and I want to show that off, and I'll just basically slide across. I'll reveal exactly what I'm trying to show off within the house. Yeah, so that's the equipment I use and the settings I use. Basically from there, I just take it back home, put it in the editing suite and edit it all together. And I like to edit it as though you're showing somebody through the house. So you're still telling a story, you're not just throwing random clips together. You want to make sure that you show it as you're entering the house, the main rooms that you're going to show off, which are like the kitchen, lounge room, maybe a master bedroom. Then you're going to go around and have a look outside, maybe go back in and have a look at like a couple of little bedrooms, some drone shots around. If you have time, going back to like those really the feature rooms of the house, like whether it's a bathroom, kitchen, dining room, whatever it is. And then normally I like to end with like a drone shot, like pulling away, or a big drone shot around the outside of the house. So yeah, that's basically my process for real estate films. Sorry that's taken a little bit longer than I thought this video was going to be, but yeah, it gives you a really good rundown on what I actually use for these films. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked it and if you found it useful, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me and it really helps the channel grow. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. I promise it won't be as long between the last video and this video this time. We've got, we do have some travel plans coming up, so hopefully I can do a bit more of that. But in the meantime, it'll be more of camera related, business related type stuff. So If there's a specific topic that you want to see more of, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make sure that I make a video on that shortly. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.